Welcome to another episode of the Business of Coaching Workshop. Today we are live with coaches Mac McGregor and Dan Shell. This is open to anybody that wants to join. By the way, we are trying to shift this format a little bit from being kind of a one-way podcast and or interview series, although we will continue to do those. We had originally Adam Minner scheduled for today from Varsity House. He couldn't make it, so we're pivoting to talk about another frequently requested topic of late, which is an overview of the latest features that have been added to TurnKey Coach. For those that aren't using TurnKey Coach right now, you may or may, or even those that are using TurnKey Coach right now, you may or may not be aware that we're moving about 12 times faster in terms of the amount of code, and arguably, depending on how you look at it, even faster in terms of a number of features released. But measurably, the amount of lines of code that we're adding to the app we're doing in a month what we were previously doing in a year, to put that into maybe a more of a context that makes sense. So if a year ago we would release a feature once a month, maybe right now we're probably on pace to doing about 12 features a month. And depending on what you would actually count as a feature, it might be more. So point being, and if you look at the amount of code being added in the last 3 months alone, we've almost, I think if the last time I added it all up, we've almost doubled the amount of code in the app. So the amount of things that we've added, the amount of features that we've added, is the equivalent of what we built the previous 6 years. We've essentially built in the last 3 or 4 months, to also put things into context. So a lot has changed. We internally on our Slack group and publicly on social media and things, we do our best to announce things and share when we've put stuff out, especially if it's a relatively big feature. But we're moving so fast that I've made the decision, whether it's the right one or not, I'm not sure, but I've made the decision in many cases not to announce when I release a feature, because I think if I put a announcement out every time I pushed a new feature, it would be annoying. It would be obnoxious. It'd be just like your car alarm going off for like car alarms in general right now annoy the crap out of me. Like, I can't remember the last time I heard a car alarm and it saw it actually preventing a car being stolen, but maybe that still happens. But yeah. So the purpose of this call is to give people a chance to ask questions about features that have been released, or we could just demo some of the big hitters that have changed. I posted in Slack this week an announcement of the major features. So since November, which is when the whole agentic coding thing took off, and the reason why we're moving so much faster, we've released a ton of workout programming, including features including multiple workouts per day. We now, just this last week, released exercise families, so you can create a collection of exercises that your client can choose from. Find and replace exercises based on a feature request from John Gaglione, range-based programming, reps and reserve, velocity-based programming, the ability to publish and unpublish workouts. That the visibility and the publish unpublish are probably features that I think are totally off the radar for most people. But you can now control how far into the future your client can see on the calendar, and you can also even within those visibility windows, you can publish or unpublish workouts. So if you want to have sort of like a work in progress that the client can't see, you can leave it in an unpublished state, even if it's within the visibility window that you've enabled for them, and they won't see it. in the visibility window. So for example, you could set it to a week out in advance. And that way, if you want to assign a template or program weeks or months into the future, but you don't want them to be able to see it or get overwhelmed, you can dial that back to however far you want to be able to, for them to be able to see. And then even within the visibility window, publish or unpublish. Training blocks and long-range programming on the calendar is added. Being able to edit from the list view. Smart copy and paste has been added, which enables you to copy what the client actually did versus just what was programmed. And that's been a game changer for me, because I no longer have to have the previous week in view while I'm working on the current week. Because prior to this feature, I would have had to see, okay, what was programmed? What did they do? Now, what do I want to do? Now you just copy paste and you're building off of what the client actually did. What is up, Nick Hammer?
I'm there. Hang
There
on.
it is. Coming in hot. Welcome
I
to
saw
the
all
show.
these fancy things you keep doing. I gotta come see what's happening, man.
Exactly.
This is like light years ahead of where you started.
Yeah.
I guess if you're still real, or if you're just AI now, because you just churning out stuff like nobody's business here.
Well, like Mac has posted, whenever it feels like whenever he's talking to me and my army of Matrix agents. It is actually kind of like that.
Was that Dr. Manhattan did that? Yeah, you're like blue now, just like all over the place doing stuff.
At any given point in time, I typically have somewhere between 8 to 12 agents running simultaneously.
Nice.
And that's on my laptop. I've got a grid of 4 agents. On my desktop screen, I've got a grid of 4 agents. And then I also have usually between 1 to 4 other tabs that are working on more focused features. So yeah, it's been pretty much constant, kind of wearing me down a little bit at this point, and probably wearing some users down. So I'm starting to be a little bit more cognizant of the feature fatigue. You know, it was exciting at first to be able to add a lot of things that I'd been anxious to add, but it's getting to a point now where I want to be a little more intentional about releasing features, because they also come with a bit of a price tag in terms of change. You know, change management is hard, and they all kind of create a long tail of bugs that have to be cleaned up usually. So, you know, and figuring out how to release code myself, which I have never done before. So it's been a fun experiment. But yeah, purpose of this call, I was just listing through a bunch of the new features that we added from workout programming perspective. Smart copy, you can mark complete now for your clients and cycle that from the calendar view. Warm-up calculator, you can change what week of the day you want your calendar to start. A bunch of stuff on the assistant coach. We could probably spend a whole episode on that. Bunch of stuff on chat. Most of those I think are intuitive. Not sure would add a ton of value to go through that, but the video player has been completely overhauled from Vimeo to a native player. That I would say mostly improved the user experience, although there's a couple things we're still ironing out. Big chunk of integrations from macro trackers and wearables. A bunch of stuff to templates, a whole redesign of the template UX, labeling, bulk assign templates. You can now assign templates from other coaches if you're the owner. Client groups is in progress. I posted that as just kind of a heads up that that's coming, but I think that's going to be a big feature for people that are working with teams or have kind of lower tier price products where they're doing more standardized programming. A couple of billing and subscription features between ACH, being able to edit subscriptions and use existing Stripe accounts. That's been, kind of behind the scenes, but something that could be a game changer for a lot of coaches. White labeling might be something worth demoing. That I just kind of pushed that out over the last week, but for people using the web application, you can now create for enterprise users, I should say, you can now create your own branded landing page graphic. You can edit more colors. so that it's not blue, and you can essentially eliminate references to TurnKey Coach from the web application. The mobile app, we don't have that yet, but coming soon. I just released this I've been using it myself for my own personal account and gave it to a couple of beta test users. Tons of changes to the navigation panel. Client onboarding and forms is another huge one, as well as resources, coach resources. Auto advancing the calendar. That one I built for Modus. I haven't released it completely to the public. They're still kind of ironing out some bugs. But you can now set it up. If you've got somebody who's just doing a template where it's pretty much the same program week over week, you can have it automatically advance the program. Or like nutrition check-ins, you can set it up so that it just automatically assigns another week of nutrition check-ins. And a couple of admin things, some holiday redesigns, and a bunch of other stuff. So all that said, since we got Nick, we got Mac, we got Dan, is there anything that you guys have had questions about, or things that you would want to walk through that you're not sure about from the list?
I think one of the ones I've had most questions on is client onboarding forms. That's definitely come up on several occasions.
Yeah, let's jump into that one. I think this is a big one for again, this to me is a game changer for people that are for our mission to create a turnkey solution, really allow you to do everything you need to do to run the business. And it's been a request we've had for a long time. I'm going to switch to light mode because I think that's a little bit easier to see.
Yeah. If there was one feature people have asked for over the past 18 months to 2 years, it's this.
Yeah. So client forms, it was initially seemed like a pretty straightforward feature. It'll just create the ability to add a way for filling out custom questionnaires. All that quickly turned into, well, can we add waivers and sign and things for the client to sign? And then that quickly turned into, well, can we add a check-in form? And then that quickly turned into, well, can I have different onboarding sequences for different types of clients? What if I have an online client? What if I have an in-person client? What if I have this? What if I have that? So it's turned into a pretty robust way for you to be able to create a custom onboarding experience, and then also set up kind of reoccurring check-ins. The basic idea that you see on the screen is under the client forms, you have 3 different categories and the ability to change your settings. One is to create what we're calling flows, and the flows enable you to route different types of new clients through different onboarding content. So if you want to create, like I said, an online flow, customer flow, and an in-person customer flow, because maybe you need to get different information, or maybe it's a nutrition client versus a strength client, and you want the nutrition client to get a different set of questionnaires, you can create different flows for that different type of new client. Pretty straightforward. Let's say we want to create a nutrition client flow. You can, add whatever description you want, and then you can set that as a default or have it be just in the database as an option to select. In this case, I don't want my nutrition client to be the default. So I'm not going to select that. I'm going to turn that or leave that unchecked. And from here, you just see that as an active flow that I'll show you how you can use. And then on the right, you can either edit the flow, deactivate it, or set it as default, or delete it. So while I'm here, I'm just going to create a new client flow and make this my default onboarding flow. And I will set that as the default and leave it active. Create that flow. Now it highlights that this new client flow is the default. And you can see both are active. So now you've got these flows set up. You can start building what goes into each of those flows. So first thing you can do is create your welcome email, this custom email template. When you sign up, you're given a default template so that you can see what that looks like, and so that if you start adding clients, you will be able to have this go to your client. But again, you can create whatever you want the name to be. You can create your own subject line. So if you don't want it to be TurnKey Coach, you could say, I want this to be my integral barbell app invitation. And you can go in and change whatever you want in the body of the text. You can add photos, files, resources from your resource library. You can also select variables. So if you want to say, actually, I think it's already got by default, it welcomes the client name, and I'll show you how you can verify that. And it also signs off with your coach name. You can also add a custom link to Vimeo or YouTube for any kind of a welcome email or onboarding, video that you want. And then you can assign it to whatever flows you want. So you can see the default is all flows, no specific flow, or you can say that I just want it to go to a specific flow. We tracking? This making sense? Good to go? All right. So I'm going to say all flows for this because this is just my generic onboarding email template. But let's say I also want to add a questionnaire. I can enter this in as my nutrition onboarding questionnaire. Use this for new nutrition clients. I'm going to call it the type onboarding. You can do it as onboarding. This also allows you to create questionnaires as a reoccurring check-in for either your athletes or your coaches. In this case, I'm going to assign it to the nutrition flow. And you have the option here to do it for new clients, or you could do it for all current clients. And then you can determine whether or not you want to make it required for the client to fill it out or not, and go through and create however many questions you want. So, let's just call it protein intake. How many grams of protein you're eating is the description. I'm going to say I want this to be a number, and I'm going to make it required. Create, and now what you have is a nutrition onboarding questionnaire that's part of the nutrition client flow with 0 responses. So when you go to add a client, you will see the option to pick what flow you want. So let's say you want to add a new user named Test McGee. And their email is testmcgee@gmail.com. And they're a nutrition client. You want to give them 3 check-ins a week, and they're on the standard plan. You're going to select the nutrition onboarding flow, or you can skip it entirely. And when you click add client, that's going to automatically send the welcome email that we already had set to all flows. And then when the client goes to sign in, they will be required to go through whatever documents you've included in the nutrition client flow. And they can't, that's before they even get to their profile page. So if you put a waiver in there, for example, we'll go do an example of that next. They have to fill that out. So I'm going to add a new document. So maybe this is a new, we'll call this new client waiver form. And this is our legal form for injury waiver. This is the description. You can do plain text, Or if you have a document on file that you want to include with PDF, Word document, text, etc., you can upload that for them to read. Or you can just, you can also manually type out or copy paste whatever the text is that you want them to sign. And then you have the option to have them do signature pad, typed name, or checkbox as the, whatever the acknowledgement processes that you want to use. And then you can also have it go to new clients or all of current clients. I do need to figure out why it's saying 726, because I'm pretty sure I don't have 726 clients on this account. And then you can go to also define which flows you want. So maybe your nutrition client has a different waiver to sign than your strength client. So you can set this up, and let's say we're going to just call it the new client. So now you can see you're starting to build out different resources, and it helps you identify which flows they're going through. And you can also organize these by dragging and dropping the flows. So as you're building flows, or if you want to keep the default invitation at the top, since that's going to all flows, maybe you put that at the top, and then you can group them. So that just helps you organize. And of course, at any point in time, you can go and deactivate or deactivate them. If you deactivate them all, they go into archived. You can reactivate them, and you can also edit or unarchive. For emails, you should also be able to preview, or emails and questionnaires. You can also go in and click the preview and see what it looks like when the client goes to fill it out. Let's see, where was so here's the default invitation email. You click preview. So you can see here, there's the example I was talking about. It puts the logo at the top. It automatically greets the client name. It adds a variable for that, shows you the body of the text, click link invitation, and then also embeds the custom video and signs off as the coach. Check-in forms is it's a version of a form. We wanted to put it in one place, all at the same, kind of in the same area. And that's just like if you want to create a reoccurring check-in, and you can completely customize this with whatever questionnaire you want and have it reoccur on whatever frequency, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. A lot of people talk about wanting to do an annual check-in. Well, this way you can set it up so you don't forget. Every year, maybe you want to do a goal reassessment, or quarterly you want to do a goal reassessment. You can create this questionnaire, and then when the client goes to log in, they will be prompted with this questionnaire, and they can't move beyond it until they finish. Or you can determine which ones you want to make required or not. The other cool thing about all of these forms that you add and create flows for is that they're automatically saved to the client notebook. So you will also get a notification in your Connect page that it was completed, and then it will be kept as a resource that you can go back to in the client calendar. Let's see if I have an example. I think, that's why I'm seeing 726, because we're in barbell logic. I meant to be over in integral barbell. So I'm pretty sure. My mom actually filled one of these out when I was beta testing it. Yeah, so if you click notes, here's her intake form. And she filled out her questionnaire and her waiver and her document. And this is also searchable. So if you want to, and it searches all the content in the client book. So if you want to find references to weight, or if you add, maybe you want to add a questionnaire about equipment, you could search for barbells. She didn't fill this out, but just as an example, it's an interactive search that allows you to look things up. Maybe you've got some injury history, maybe a medical report, it's all interactive for you to be able to pull from. And I think that's another huge advantage of using these client forms over whatever other Zap or Zapier or SurveyMonkey or whatever you're using, is that, again, you get this kind of turnkey solution, everything in one place that you can go back and reference. When you're programming and you're trying to remember what equipment do they have, like, you can go search for it right there. Does that answer the questions that you had about it, Mac?
Yeah, that's very, very useful. Yeah, got it now.
The one feature request I got today actually was whether or not you could whether you could create like a subset of existing clients that you want a form to get sent to. And right now it's kind of an all or nothing. Either you send it to only new clients or you send it to all of your existing clients that haven't filled one out. But I could see the value in being able to create a form and just select whatever subset you want. And same thing with the check-in forms. It's either all of your athletes or all of your coaches. You can't select, like a channel. Maybe you've got a group. We are on the verge of releasing the group feature, which I could give a little teaser of. We're not fully implemented. We're still working out some bugs. But this would be another example where it'd be nice to be able to say, I want to send a check-in form to test group or QA test group or whatever. But the basic idea with groups is that you would be able to create a unified calendar that synchronizes to the clients that are added to it. So in this example, I've got two groups here showing on the screen, a QA test group and two QA test groups basically. But you can come in and create, well, I'll just do one from scratch. You add a new group. You can call it whatever you want. I'm going to go Funky Fat Boys. You can add an image. Let's say you've got some, a picture that you want to give the group. Add a description. You can change what notification settings you want. So if you don't want to get these programming notifications, you can turn that off. And then you go through and select which clients you want. Build your roster, however many you want. Create the group. And then it's going to ask you whether you want to create a channel. So built into the process is the ability to automatically create a group chat channel. In this case, I'm not going to do it. I'll show you an example here where there's QA test group. Here's an example where I created a channel. If you do create a channel, it'll automatically pop this up. So you can say like, welcome to the group chat, and it'll go from there. One thing you might notice there, just a small example, very tiny example, the color coding. See how this is black here? The little small thing that I set up is for the white label feature. The colors for my brand are black and gold. So a lot of things that are blue in TurnKey Coach are black here with the white label. Once you set up a group, you can edit the group, archive it, create a channel if you want to start a channel after initially not doing it. And then you go to the calendar and you'll notice a few things. One, this is called test group. It tells you you've got 5 clients. Other than that, it pretty much operates the same as a calendar. It's just that when you start writing programs to here, it's going to push those workouts onto the client's individual calendars that are assigned to the group. And so you'll be able to move workouts around, add or subtract workouts, and it will automatically update on the group calendar. Obviously, you probably don't want to program specific weights. You're probably going to do more RPE percentage or RAR type programming. But could be super helpful for you if you're doing a team-based program and you want people to be able to you want to be able to manage one program for many people, and then they can update the workouts as they complete them. The second that they complete a workout, it's locked on their calendar and it won't be moved around or modified anymore. Even if you change the group calendar, but that's going to be, I think, a big feature for a lot of people that are coaching teams.
Yeah, that was great. That's really useful. And if you think about adding the exercise family
Yes,
selection
exactly.
in there, that's a wild combination.
Yes,
For anyone who's running a lower tier, group,
Yep.
and then you add the chat on top. That's the perfect solution.
Yep. So yeah, so a great segue
Ooh.
into the exercise family. Like, let's say you want to do squat variation as an exercise group family. So you can see right here, just like with creating an exercise, if you start typing and it doesn't exist in the library, let's see, squat modification. Man, I need to zoom in. I do not have the eyesight for this. Squat modification. So you can see there's no options to choose from. So you can either create this as an exercise or create it as a family. And I'm going to call this squat modifications. You can add whatever custom instructions you want. Choose one of these. And then you can go pick the squats you want. So maybe I want this to be squat, bodyweight squat, box squat, and front squat, and goblet squat. So once I create that family, and then I'll say, I want you to do 3x8 at RPE 8. Click save. Now this isn't beta test, mind you, so I don't know how good this is going to work at the moment. I just tested this last night and it did, but you can see I've got squat modifications on March 19th for the test group calendar and 5 clients assigned to that. So let's jump to, I think I put it on this garbage account. So I'm going to jump to Andrew Barbender garbage. It's not on there. First live demo failure. Which one was it? Was that test group that I just did that on? Yeah. Okay, so actually I want to go to my workouts, I think. Bang, there it is. So a couple things you'll notice. One is this little paperclip icon in the upper left. That tells you that this is synced from the test group calendar. And another little icon here. Then you can see the squat modifications. Well, that doesn't look that different, but that's because I'm looking at it from the coach view. If I go to list view and click into the workout, now you can see what it enables from the client perspective. You can see each of the exercise options that I just added: squat, bodyweight squat, box squat, front squat, goblet squat. You can see the custom instructions underneath. You can see a icon here for demo video. So each of the demo videos, that way the client can be like, I've never done a goblet squat. What's that? Can go watch the demo video and then make a decision. And then you can say, okay, yeah, goblet squat actually sounds good today. I'm going to select that. And then if they start warming up the goblet squat and they're like, screw that, I'd rather do box squats, they can click a button and switch it back to box squat. Go through their workout, edit what they do. Let's say they do 185, and yeah, that actually ended up being an RPE 7.5. Mark it complete. It will automatically recognize that you've chosen the box squat and update your box squat PR, and it will record what you actually did while showing what was programmed, including the RPE, and then it will also display that on the chart that you did 185, and it even in the little chart pop-up there shows that it was 7.5 with an E1RM of 251, and it's also the PR. Pretty dang slick, huh?
That's epic. I really dig that, for the flexibility of, here's a group calendar, centralized calendar, everyone gets the updates. The families where, you can go out and therefore, equipment doesn't matter. You don't have to make that consideration. It's taken care of. the fact it's auto tracking all that as well.
Yep.
That's wonderful, man. That's genuinely blowing my mind. That's epic.
Yeah, this I think will solve a lot of problems. I mean, we got to get a call probably with Mike at Varsity House, because I think this would be a game changer for their group programming, their class programming, because it would enable him to program with a lot of flexibility that he can then edit on the fly and manage for each class. You could have a class structure, or some of our coaches that are, we've been asked for years if they could coach a basketball team or a football team. You could have, from a coach perspective, managing one calendar that each client still feels like they're getting one-on-one coaching or programming. It's still customized, and you can still tweak it without messing with the group calendar. So it's one-way push. We're at time.
We need, Dan, is there any way
just did
we
like
can,
3 features?
Dan, can we timestamp this or break this down into the client onboarding forms and the group calendar so we can have 2 separate videos? Because I would love to be able to send those individually to coaches who ask about it.
Yeah, that's too easy, and I can just post them in Basecamp somewhere. It's easy.
That'd be awesome, man. Thank you.
Just real quick on the white label to demo, one of the things I think is pretty cool that I described it, but this is what it actually looks like. So if you look at the URL first, you'll notice it says integralbarbell.turnkey.coach. So you now get the ability to create, and that's totally customized. Once you enable this feature, you can pick whatever you want that URL to be, and you can edit that. It's an account setting that you can edit. And so it creates a URL for you that you can embed in your website or your invitation emails. You get to customize the logo here. So instead of being a TurnKey Coach logo, it's my Integral Barbell logo. This color coding is welcome back in black instead of the blue. You have the option to leave Powered by TurnKey Coach on, or you could turn that off. And then this is a customizable landing page image on the right instead of the standard Nikki deadlifting picture.
So I will get this question. I know I will, because people will ask about branding, and I'll say, hey, it's enterprise only. How does a coach become enterprise?
They need to contact support, and we'll work with them to figure out what their feature needs are, what their capacity is, and sort of a case-by-case basis right now. You can see here how that's controlled. So I can change my logo. That's been around for a while. But then here's the brand subdomain that you can create, what the app display name is, the login page, welcome. So you can even change that header, whatever you want. Pick your font, and change the brand colors. And then here's the toggle for Powered by TurnKey Coach. And then it shows you kind of what the preview of the font and the colors look like. This will not work for MobiLoud. The downloadable mobile app does not work for this yet, but we're going to be releasing those this year, and should this year be able to customize the app so that people have their own login experience there as well. All right, 40 minutes in, we got through 3 features. Any other questions you guys got?
So it might be worth just doing a poll in the Slack group to see if people have any features that they can vote on to say, yeah, show us a video about XYZ.
I didn't even get to resources, man. That was another one that I thought was, I've seen some companies really leveraging it a lot. But it's, it's basically like being able to have your own filterable Google Drive in the app. So you don't have to keep going to Instagram or Google or wherever. You can just add those. Because once it's added as a resource, you can then in any chat or any workout comment, click the paperclip, go to resources and pull up and attach a resource right there in the flow. So if you've got a back rehab video that you love from some Instagram account, a YouTube video, or maybe you've got a PDF, whatever, it's right there as a ready resource to be able to add to your client's workout or chat message.
Yeah, I use Michael Burgos's like wrist wrap demo from Instagram
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah,
Yep.
really, really good.
Yeah, I'm just I'm trying to think. There's so many. Oh man, long range programming is another one. And man, the AI stuff. Nick, between long range programming and AI, I think I don't know if you've have you seen or had any interest in beta testing the AI coach?
So yes and no, because I'm slow to pick up.
Yeah.
But I like to watch it happen first. So I'm not a beta tester.
That's fair.
I'm behind that line. But I like to play with it once I like this here. I like just watching you click through and see where it can apply for me. So this is more my speed.
It's pretty dang good. Like Carl's been chipping away at it. In the first couple of months of the year, I would have said it's not ready. But it's gotten to the point, and the reason I'm asking you in particular, because I think one of the most powerful ways to use it would be coaches that like programming the conjugate method.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest challenges, at least from my experiences with the conjugate method, is programming is a bitch.
Yeah, it is.
And what the AI coach would allow you to do is oops, going to the wrong one.
It is, but just thinking out loud of what you just kind of thrown out there with the families, like families fixes a lot of problems with the
That's true.
conjugate method. Like it's just there. Like here's the top, 4 lifts I'm thinking you should try for the squat. Here's the top 4 for the deadlift and so on. And that right there has just made conjugate a lot more manageable for me when I'm having somebody play with it for the first time.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I hadn't thought about that. But had you seen the long range planning calendar?
Not yet, no.
This one's one of my favorite. That's just come out in the last month. It's this little calendar up here in the upper right, where you can basically create these visual blocks. So, for example, I've got this red line as survival mode, and then I put in, just for funsies, I put cross generational conjugate. But
Yeah.
you just click on it. It's not super complicated, but it's just like planning. Let's call this your volume block. You can do multiple over the same period of time, but it just kind of gives you, when you're setting up the year, for example, you can just set up let's say you want to start your high level programming. You just add a block. Oh, I didn't like that. I want to change this to purple.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of visualize a long range plan. And then when you go back to the calendar, you can see those color codes and those labels on the color or on the calendar. And the client can see it as well. When you're in list view, it's across the top here as well. It's kind of a cool planning and communication tool.
Yeah.
You can also see the chronometer integration here. I'm going to turn that off just because it's starting to get a little bit cluttered. But assistant coach, the other thing I think is really cool about it is it can allow you to really quickly prototype or kind of lay out a plan for your clients to take a look at. So let's say, what is this end here? This is May 4th, or is that June? Just get a little bit confused. I think that's May 4th. So I could just say, let's add an 8-week block to Andrew's calendar. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, starting May 4th. Want to do a volume block using Matt Winning's conjugate programming style. Click send. It's going to think on that for a few seconds. We're working on adding a little thinking box so you know it's actually thinking. But all right. So then he says, I need to switch back to Andrew's calendar. We've been working across a few clients. Let me do that. And then I'll build a block. All right, and then he goes, all right, a few quick questions. Same split as before. Volume focus for conjugate. So this is actually remembering back to a conversation that I had when I had it write this program.
Yep.
Asks a bunch of clarifying questions. Same 5 metrics. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to say, yes, that all looks great. Make it so. The memory thing is crazy. Like that's a new thing that he just added that totally changes the interaction. It used to be you kind of had to treat it like each line that you typed was a one shot. Now it's like ChatGPT where it will remember the conversation. So I'm just saying, yep, that looks good. Let's do it. So it's thinking, and if this works, what you'll start to see is workouts pop up on the calendar once it gets done. And when it adds it initially, it'll have, I mentioned that unpublished feature. That's this blue icon here. That means the client can't see it. Come on, assistant coach. Don't fail me now. Okay, we're 1 minute in. Must have crashed it. There we go.
There it goes.
Boom, boom, boom. 8 weeks.
Nice.
Now, in a lot of cases here, it picked percentages.
Yeah.
But you can interact with it and say, hey, just look at the last 3 months. Take your best guess at estimating where those percentages are at. You could even tell it to do another round.
Yeah.
But here it is, all 32 sessions created. This took a little over, looks like about 2 minutes, a little over a minute. May 4th through 26th. There it is, summarizes it, tells you what its thought process was, and it's all on the calendar now.
Would you be, I'm assuming the answer is yes, would I be able to, like, talking with AI? So for instance, I update my clients' projected estimated maxes, not necessarily based off of what's in TurnKey Coach, but what I'm feeling, seeing bar path, everything else on a somewhat regular basis when I see them hit walls.
Mm-hmm.
And so would I be able to then, I could say, okay, hey, utilize these maxes here, following for the estimations, and then build a program and such. So yeah, I could do that. That would help me.
Yeah, you could say, I could say, like, this looks great. Update the bench percentages with an E1RM of 375. Or what I'm in kilos here, so like 175.
And then that's awesome, because I often run into situations sometimes where life hits somebody and where we think we are is not where we need to be right now. So I can, like, pull that back and readjust downward without, derailing the whole program, and just adjust down.
Well, there's a couple tools. There's a couple different ways. This will tease up another feature I can demo real quick. But here, this is what I'm saying. Here's an example of using the AI. This looks great. Update with E1 on 175. Very cool here that it came back and said pounds or kilos.
Nice.
So I'm going to say kilos and send. And so it's going to go through and update that same program. So we should watch this. Let's see how long it takes for this 52% to change to whatever that'll be, 85 or 82 and a half. Or 87 and a half. The other way you could go about doing it is the find and replace. So you could type bench. Like, let's say somebody gets a shoulder injury and you want to go from bench to close grip. You can change all the exercises, and then you can go through and you can either keep the assigned weights, or you can go through and modify and say you want them to all drop to, like, let's go to whatever 3x8 at RPE6, or you can go through and actually modify each one. It takes a little bit longer, but it would replace all 19 workouts. And then here, done, all dynamic, review and publish. So it doesn't look like it quite figured that out. Let me refresh the calendar. Maybe it. Doesn't look like it quite figured that out. All dynamic upper body. Oh, review and publish when ready. Okay. Oh no, it says review and publish. Interesting. That does not look to me like it figured it out. There are some moments where, like with any AI, it makes mistakes or it does things that don't make sense, and sometimes you got to iterate with it. But what I've used this for as an example is a client comes back from vacation, or they're just getting stale with their program, and I'll be like, I'm going to put this 8-week program in here. I just want to like lay out a path and vision. Let me know what you think. And for me to do that before, I would either had a template, or I would have, I don't know, just it didn't give me as much flexibility. Whereas now I can describe exactly what I want it to do, or what kind of exercises I want it to include, and I can lay that out in a minute. And if the client's like, man, it doesn't look good, or I want to tweak this, then I can easily change it, and makes the conversation with the client especially around longer range programs, a lot easier. And I notice the dark side of MED is, you can get into these ruts where, you don't want to break out of, because from a programming perspective, it creates more work for you. But this kind of unlocks that, and kind of frees you up to be able to program in longer blocks without just having to use generic templates. And you can also customize. I don't know if you've noticed this feature, that in the notes section you can add, when you add things to the notes, you can designate, I think it's up to somewhere between 5 and 10 items as AI knowledge, and it will include that in the context of making whatever decision it is. So like if you have a particular article that represents the programming philosophy that you want to apply to this client, you can add that to their notes, check it as AI knowledge. Or if they have an equipment list or injury history, you can add those into the AI knowledge, and it'll factor that into the context.
I like that. I do have a client that this would help me with specifically, so I'll retract my statement and say I'd like to beta this specifically for her.
Awesome. We'll get you set up.
She's one that every once in a while she just needs a refresh, and even if we're making progress, she gets the staleness in there. So she's one that she probably requires most of my programming bandwidth. Everybody else is pretty well straightforward with minor tweaks. So awesome. It would be fun for her.
We actually could set you up right now in real time. What's the name?
Amanda Goodman. She's on a 2-week vacation right now. She's a world traveler. She's out and about right now. She comes back, and we're going to refresh again.
This is a block client?
It is, yep.
Okay. So we just go down to assistant coach. And we add Nick, existing user. And I'm going to turn on just the where'd you go? You're on page 2. That is a very poorly placed question mark. The camera. All right, I'm going to turn on the. Oh my gosh, this is a pain in the butt. Assistant chat, and I'll make comments visible. And then we need to add, what was her name again?
Amanda Goodman.
Sweet. Add her. And I want to make sure so we don't have anything turned on for her. So she can't chat with the assistant coach. It doesn't automatically generate workouts, and we don't make the comments visible. So she won't have any way of interacting with the AI, but AI will be able to see her calendar now.
Okay.
And you should have if you go to your chat now, you should have an assistant coach there.
Yes.
And you can start playing around with it. One of the other cool features that Carl's gotten a ton of value out of, and it can be a great way to start the conversation with the AI, is to have it tell you about your client's training, and that will generate context that you can then have it use for its programming. So if I come in here to Adam's calendar and I just say, tell me about Adam's training and any recommendations you have about the program. So one of the things Carl's noticed from it is it's helping him find when his clients are getting stale or stuck with that he wasn't even recognizing, that he was sort of on this like repetitive loop, another dark side of MED. And so he's been doing stuff like this with the assistant coach, and it'll write out a summary and kind of give him some insights to the program and what's working and what's not working. So you can see here, it goes through and gives you just kind of a summary. Here's his progress on squat, deadlift, excellent progression, accessories, and then here recommendations. Screwed up the program a couple weeks ago. Recommending a deload before pushing past 355 again. That's kind of a cool thing to just give you a little pause and chance to need to prioritize press again and training frequency. Yep, all good stuff. And then what I'm liking, Carl's added it so that it's now like proactively asking if it can do something for you, and makes it really easy to just be like, yep, make it so. All right, I think I'm at time. What do you guys think? Would this be worth doing more often?
Yeah, I think so. Sure, yeah. But I do think
I think so.
The raft that we have, I think opening up to a vote would be quite good. Maybe inside a Slack.
Yeah. Especially that way too. If people can't make it, we can still make sure to cover stuff and they can watch it after the fact. Awesome. I think that's a wrap. Thank you for folks that are listening. Sorry, did we put these on YouTube with video, or is it just audio? This would be a tough one to listen to.
Yeah. We do video.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you're listening to this on the podcast, which I doubt you've made it this far, because it would be pretty painful to listen to this one, go to the YouTube channel, check it out, and we'll see you next time on the Business Coaching Workshop.